One of the things that I really feel is a strong early, influence on me was actually an inanimate object, and that was a stapler. And as a young child, I was finishing up a construction paper project with my teacher, and I went to ask her where her stapler was. And she gestured behind her desk, not expecting me to bolt for it like a young, arrogant, know-it-all, something more common you would find in adults. And I was muttering, yeah, I know how to use it. And then I proceeded to staple right through my index finger, reminding me that right and wrong is not shaped by truth, but by the perspective of the individual, and that to say someone else is wrong is to actually acknowledge that you can't see what they see. And this has really helped to anchor our practice in this collaborative approach, working closely with people to arrive at conclusions rather than dictate or think that we know. When I got into medical school in '96, it was a pretty big deal, especially for me, since the last thing most people had heard from me was I had dropped out of school, and I was a dance major, and I was running with a bunch of freaks in New York City. So I went from being, sort of a idiot, like what am I doing with my life, to suddenly everyone thinks I'm smart. It was sort of a funny moment in my life. I made it a lot like I would make an apartment, and kept $5,000 aside as a plan B to put a shower in to make it my apartment if it didn't go right. So we made it a lovely place to be, because I knew that I was going to be spending almost every waking moment here. But I really wanted this place to feel like a home to creative people, because we have patients that come here from New York and LA and Paris and London. And, they don't see a doctor that often, but they oftentimes will make sure they stop here when they travel through. And that's always been a special part of what makes us care practice. When I opened a clinic, everyone, once again, wondered what I was doing with my life, because no one was opening clinics. And everyone assumed it was going to fail, especially when the economy dropped out from under us and the banking crisis. But I was fortunate to catch the social media tidal wave, and we grew exponentially almost overnight. One of the main influences that compelled me to do a lot of addiction medicine was first that I felt that addiction was present in any setting I ever encountered in medicine. Whether we care to admit it or not, we are creating addicts as doctors. But another reason was early, towards the end of medical school, a friend had called me who had been addicted to heroin on the East Coast, and he had escaped to California to get away from it. He had told me about OxyContin, and he said, you need to check this out. They've literally made M&Ms filled with China white heroin that you can lick off in seconds. And I had asked him to show me, and I'd come into San Francisco because I was doing residency at UCSF in Sutter in Santa Rosa. And I came in, and he took me to meet some different dealers and brokers and people that were shipping OxyContin around the United States. It was like 3 or 4 people, I think. And I asked them, well, how easy is it to get this substance out? And they proceeded to race, put it in their mouth, lick it off, and then dry it in their t-shirts, and then lay it on the table and crush it up. And they had all done it in less than 10 seconds. And they looked at this white powder, this fine white powder, and they said, this is China white heroin. And that's when I knew we had a very major problem on our hands.
All right, so just I'll see at 8 with 2 people. A shattered spine.
So those are OxyContin 80s. But did you see what she just did?
Just dumped 5 of them out.
Well, she dumped 5 of them out, but also, like, if you take a pill every day, you put it in the back of your throat, not in the front. So what she did here is, she's going to chew it. I mean, most likely. In 2013, I'd been very involved in tech as an innovator, an entrepreneur, advisor, and I had some ideas for addiction research that I had proposed to some pharmaceutical companies on these long-acting depot and implant drugs. Basically, the drugs I've been working with, buprenorphine, the antagonists, and I proposed these studies. And as it turned out, they were already in the pipeline. Someone else had already thought of these ideas, and I decided to get involved, and I became involved as a worker bee. I think one of the things that made us so important for the drug companies was that we were one of the few clinics that drew blood from neck veins, and that's been a big problem for these fast-track studies with 20 to 40 visits over 6 months, where all the people that are able to do that number of visits are hardcore IV drug users, and they've burned out all their veins. And if you're doing a study like that, you're drawing their blood all the time. And if you can't draw their blood, they can't be in the study. So we've just kind of upped our game. These are the opiates. These are the poppy seeds. You can make poppy seed tea out of them. Apparently, I don't know. These are from patients. Almost 80% of the people that wind up addicted to heroin or overdosing on heroin actually start out with prescription medications. If I'm really honest in the algorithms of things that I've seen throughout my career, the thing that I've seen is when they get so sick and tired of dealing with doctors and the medical system that they get pissed off and they get angry enough to do something with intention, running away from medicine. That is the most consistent place where people, I would say, the largest percentage get better. People that are diving into medicine and trying to find their answers in pills and doctors. We can be of help, we can be advocates, we can help guide you, but we don't have the answers. And we've created a lot of these problems. Anytime you have a problem this big and affecting this many people, you're unlikely to find the answer or the solution, even though everyone will claim to have one. Instead, you likely have a problem with perspective or how you're looking at the problem itself. And that's where we're headed at Care Practice, to work on altering and helping to educate people's perspective.